Hello, my girls, and welcome back to the Shannon Blanchard podcast. I am so excited to have you here. Today, we are going to be talking about how to run your business from flow rather than from pressure and how that specifically relates to sales. I'm so excited to talk about this because if you've been following along with some of my other episodes or on TikTok and Instagram, you know that sales are something I have been talking about a lot over the last 4 to 5 months. And the reason why is because we are in such a transitionary phase in the online space right now as entrepreneurs, where what has worked for years and years and years, the last decade plus, is no longer working moving forward in terms of generating sales. And a big part of why that is actually has to do with AI, because as soon as people see something, we all have these detectors for AI now where we can instantly suss out AI copy and things that we just know were not made by a human. And as soon as people see that, they don't like that, right? We don't want that. Nobody really wants to consume art that is AI or buy from somebody whose whole website was written by a robot. And so what's happening in the online space, it's not just about AI itself, but it's about the fact that people are feeling really repelled by anything that is formulaic. And that's why I say the strategies that have worked for such a long time in the online space are not working anymore. We are completely transitioning out of an era of over-reliance on strategy and into an era where we are focused on embodiment. And there's a whole lot that goes into it. Again, if you know, I'm working on a free workshop that's talking about this entire topic so that you can be well equipped through this transition. But that's why I'm so excited to be talking about sales again today, because this is a topic that I think is so important, especially if you are newer in the online space and you're trying to navigate. And it's this odd thing right now where you see people who have been online for years and years and years, but what they're doing isn't working. Things are just not the way that they were. And so I want to support you through this transition so you feel equipped and really understand what is going on. And I also think the topic of operating your business from flow compared to pressure is so important, because it is so easy to unknowingly be running your business from a place of pressure and urgency and really not even realize it. And then eventually you're like, why am I not getting the results that I want? Or I have the results in an external sense, but internally I feel like crap. Like, why is that? Well, this is why, because you are operating from a place of pressure and urgency, shame, etc., and you might not even be realizing it. Before we dive into this topic today, I want you to just take a second to pause and reflect on how you have been generating sales in your business over the last, let's say, 6 to 12 months, or however long you've had your business if you haven't had it for quite that long yet. What have you been doing? And specifically what I want you to think about is, how has that felt to you? So I don't want you to look back at your actions and just be totally in your mind thinking, oh yeah, that was good, that was smart, that was whatever, I failed here. I want you to think about, how has generating sales felt in your body? And I want you to think about your marketing specifically, and if there's any sense of pressure in that area of your business. So that could look like feeling like you need to be showing up online more, or you need to be active on more platforms, and potentially you feel a sense of, guilt or shame for not doing that. It could be a sense of guilt for just feeling like you're not doing absolutely everything possible that you could be doing to generate sales. I'm actually going to talk about that feeling specifically because I have really related to that and I have dealt with that in my own business. So I'm going to dive into my experience with that later on in this episode. And it could also show up as feeling like you're constantly questioning everything that you're doing and why it feels like you just don't know how to do anything the right way. Like you're not hitting your stride. You're not finding that momentum and success in your business when it feels like everybody else is apparently having that happen for them. So there's, this questioning, self-doubt, and comparison. So those are some ways that pressure can show up in your marketing. And I want you to kind of be thinking about how your marketing has been, how generating sales has been for you in your body, so that you have that information available to you as we go along in this conversation today. So let me just give you a few quick takeaways of what you're going to have by the end of this episode. So you will see, first of all, through contrast, what it looks like to operate your business from flow and from harmony compared to from pressure, and why it is that we so often do things from a place of pressure without even necessarily realizing it. You'll see why you actually can trust yourself to find the path to success that is right for you. And we're going to discuss 3 core ways that you can start to generate flow in your own business. This is something that I feel like I've really been able to experiment with and experience in my own business. Now, of course, I'm always finding deeper layers and deeper ways of creating more and more flow. But when I was thinking about, how do you do this? How do you create flow? Because so often conversations around being in alignment or, having a sense of flow can be the language can be kind of like wishy-washy. It's like, I don't know, you just need to sort of figure it out for yourself. And I want to help you and give you some actual practical things to look at, experiment with, try in your business to start creating some flow. And lastly, you will see how all of this ties into sales. And I have something specific that I want to talk through related to that at the end of this episode. So make sure you listen all the way through to get to that. First thing that I want to talk about is what it means to operate from flow and harmony or alignment. Flow to me means that there is an ease and a sense of momentum in your business. You are making progress towards your goals. You're getting things done, but it is not coming from this place of pressure or I should be doing this urgency or panic. Now, sometimes, of course, there's like urgency when, you need to get something done for a certain deadline because you're working on something really exciting. That's obviously not the kind of urgency that I'm talking about. When you are operating from a sense of urgency, like I have to do this right now because I desperately need sales, I need to make money, that's the experience that I'm speaking to, right? So flow to me means that you are operating from deep trust in 2 things. So I really want you to catch these 2 things that I'm about to tell you. So one of these 2 things is that you're trusting that your soul knows how to get to where you want to go. Your soul knows how to get there. And the second thing is trusting that your body will tell you when it's time to do the things that are necessary to make that happen, to get to where you want to go. Your body, your energy will cue you and tell you when it's time to do the things that you have to do. Those 2 things, operating from a deep trust in those 2 things, are what really it means to operate from flow in your business, in my opinion. And I'm going to get more in depth on all of these things, but that's my sort of surface level initial definition of what it means to operate from flow. Now, for most of us, there are many different areas in our business where we are operating from the mindset of this is what you have to do in order to become successful, because it's what we heard or what we saw online. We saw somebody else do it. And when we do this, what we're really doing is creating success on somebody else's terms. And we'll think, okay, that person that I really admire who has the results that I want, they're posting every single day. So clearly I need to start posting every single day. I've really got to get out there more. And we feel this pressure, this urgency, or, this has happened to me so many times on Instagram where somebody who's kind of like starting to go viral on Instagram, their posts will continue to come up as like suggested content in my feed. So I keep seeing their content even though I don't follow them. And you can just tell like they've got to figure it out in their own business. Like they've got their distinct style of carousel and content that they create. They have the fonts and the specific colors that they use, and it looks so cute and it's aesthetic and it's really good content. And you see this and inside you, you're like, oh, why can't I just figure that out? You might even feel a sense of pressure to like, oh, well, I'm going to start using that color, or I'm going to start trying to create carousels in the same way, or reels, whatever it might be. So what is happening in this cycle is there will be some sort of an external stimulus that we see that causes an internal experience of guilt, shame, doubt, and so on. And in turn, we take action from that place. So we see something outside, it creates this feeling of guilt, shame, pressure, urgency, and then we take action that's really rooted in those feelings and in those experiences, even if we are telling ourselves and we think that we are taking action that is rooted in the end goal, the end result. What's really happening is it's actually rooted in, again, comparing yourself, not feeling good enough, doubting, questioning, and so on. And that is what it looks like to be operating from pressure instead of flow. And I will say, operating from pressure isn't always going to feel bad in your body. So, for example, I have had times where, again, I see something external, I see somebody's content, I see somebody achieve something that I desire, and I see what they are doing. Maybe it's the specific kind of stories that they post, or again, they're posting super frequently, or they're multi-platform, whatever it might be. And I have had times where I think to myself, oh, you know what? I want to do that. Like, I want to be multi-platform, or I want to be posting more. And I kind of quickly run through this process of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm creating this game plan. I'm going to be posting this frequently. And it feels good in the moment because having a plan feels really, really good. And that's what's confusing, is that sometimes we get so in our heads and we're so focused on, I'm creating this plan, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do. And I love that because I have this sense of confidence of, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what my next steps are. But if we were to really look under the surface at what's happening, is, again, it is rooted in a place of, I see somebody else and now I feel like I need to do that same thing or do it my own way. It's not actually an action or a plan that is coming from inside me. It is coming from seeing somebody else, comparing myself, not feeling good enough, and so on. So just keep that in mind, that it's important to think about the actions you are taking in terms of your sales. How do they feel, like I said earlier? And also, if you were to really assess where are those steps, the plan, the methods, anything you are using, where is that coming from? Is it rooted in your own confidence of, this is the path that is right for me? Or is it rooted in, I'm doing this because I feel like I have to, I'm supposed to, this is what everyone else is doing, this is just the way you do it? And I want you to really imagine what it would feel like and be like to completely erase from your business any of the areas that you are showing up from a place of pressure, from a place of urgency. Truly, how life-changing would that be in your business to not have that feeling anymore, to not have to show up, to not question yourself, question if you know what you're doing, to constantly be dealing with all of the thoughts in your head that are telling you, you don't know what you're doing, you're not doing it good enough, what are you doing, you might as well give up. If you were to just erase all of that and truly show up for every area of your business in a way that is honoring of your energy, imagine how different your business could look. Imagine how different you would feel, right? That's my invitation to you, is to start thinking about that and how you can do that today, right now. So let's keep this conversation going. I want to share a little bit now about my experience with this. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I have dealt with feeling a lot of pressure in my own business to be doing more. And I actually made a TikTok talking about this recently, how I have dealt with this pressure of, you really should be doing more. You should be multi-platform. And again, it's so easy to see the people who are super successful and they're posting all the time and they're on all these different platforms. And first of all, like, those people usually have a team who can do those things for them. So it's really unfair to compare yourself to somebody who has a team of multiple people or even one additional person. Like, it's not fair to compare yourself to anybody, but especially somebody who has a team supporting them. But it's just such an unconscious process sometimes. It just happens without you even realizing it. And that has been my experience, where I just have felt this pressure and I see other people and it creates a sense of urgency for me. And so I decided that, I'm actually going to go for it. I'm going to try doing everything that I can. And girl, when I tell you, I legitimately left nothing on the table. I was on every platform I could be on. I was posting so much, creating so much content. I was doing absolutely everything. I was getting into SEO. I felt like this is everything I could ever ask of myself. And I'm giving it a fair shot. And here's the thing, you see the slight increase in your followers, in your viewership, etc. And that's very tantalizing. That is tempting. You're like, ooh, let me see those numbers. I'm getting notifications. This feels so good. But can I be real with you? My true experience with that was miserable. At the end of the day, I did not enjoy it at all. And I actually dealt with, for like 2 weeks after that, kind of a severe energetic burnout. I remember like telling my friends just like, I can't even text right now. Like I'm burnt out. I cannot see anyone. I just cannot do anything. And I think, especially for me, I am somebody where it's important to me to share a message that's like coming from my heart and something I'm really feeling, something I really believe, I'm passionate about sharing. And when you are somebody who creates content like that really is embodied in your vision, your mission, etc., you cannot just be putting out 3 pieces of content every single day. It is just not realistic for most people. I think there are probably some people where volume and output is like, that is their thing. That's how they operate. But for the majority of us, volume is antithetical to how our systems, how our bodies operate. And so even though I saw some results, it never would have worked for me to keep going down that route. Most importantly, because I didn't want to keep doing those things in the first place. I didn't want to be multi-platform, pushing out content like an actual machine, trying to formulate the perfect hook that will get my audience. No, it's so formulaic. I absolutely hated it. I didn't want to keep doing it. And so it made me realize that I was operating from pressure in that experience and not from flow. I was trying to do things to really measure up, to keep worrying about beating out the algorithm, all of these things that quite frankly are just a waste of my precious energy to be worrying about. And so it was a reminder for me to pause for a moment, reflect on what I was doing, and reorient and think about, how do I want to move forward, right? And I remembered the fact that I can trust myself to find the right path forward, and I can trust my business to flourish and support me deeply when I do that. Humans are so funny because it's like, I'm sure you relate to this, where you will experience something multiple times. You will see the proof of something multiple times. And yet every single time you're just like, I need a sign that this is going to work. I need a sign that this is right. And so I told myself, Shannon, like, you can trust yourself to run your business from alignment, and it will work. It literally happens every single time. When I put out content that is something I'm passionate about, something I want to share with my girls who are in my community, who watch my content, it always gets delivered to the right people, and sales from that place are absolutely effortless. They just flow to me. The right people find me. I get to work with the best women, and it happens so naturally. And so I just reminded myself, like, Shannon, you can trust operating from flow and alignment, operating from harmony, and it will bring you the results that you want. And I want to share with you how, for the first time ever in my business, I really gave myself the freedom to just be honest with myself about how I wanted to create success and what that would actually look like moving forward. And so I'm going to share a few key things that I decided, just because maybe this will help you to start thinking about how you want to create success in sales in your own business. And maybe this will just be a little bit of a permission slip, right? For you to be like, oh wait, yeah, I'm the one who runs my business. I can do this however I want. So the first thing that I decided in my reorienting and getting back into flow in my business business was, you know what? I really only want to show up on the platforms that I enjoy creating content on. For me, that is TikTok and Instagram stories in terms of social media platforms. I also have my newsletter and my podcast, which I'll talk about those in a second. But what I decided was, okay, for TikTok, that's my favorite platform. I love it. I love making content there, but I just want to create content when I feel a message in my heart. Like, I know when I have something to say because it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I feel this like I need to open my TikTok app right now and record this because I have got to get this message out there. Like, I'm so excited about it. And I know what that feels like for me. And so I'm just going to stick to creating content that comes from that place. So that, practically speaking, meant going from posting 2 to 3 times a day on TikTok to maybe just like 3 times a week. Sometimes I'm sure it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less, but just trusting that the right messages will come through. I also decided that I don't really need to worry about posting to my Instagram feed anymore. I love my Instagram stories. I'm on there all the time. The reality is, posting to my Instagram feed, I just don't like doing it. It's not where I shine. And sometimes I feel inspired to make content on there, but for the most part, I don't. And for the first time in my business, I actually let that go. And I cannot tell you the relief I felt of like, oh my God, you know what? I really don't have to do that. I can give that up, okay? And it's fine because it's the right thing for me. I also decided that I don't need to be sending weekly newsletters for the sake of, you've got to send something weekly and you have to keep your audience engaged and blah, blah, blah. I can send a message when it's the right time and trust that it will be the right thing. And overall, in terms of every area of output, whether it is podcasts, newsletters, social media, I just decided I'm ready to let go of the mental pressure to be hyper consistent. Now, to be clear, I am somebody who I've already built the muscle of consistency. Like I know I'm very devoted to my business. So for me, in giving myself the freedom to not be consistent, I know that I'm not going to sort of abuse that and just stop showing up and like ghost my social media or something. I'm not going to do that because I know that I do want to show up. And I trust myself to be able to do it in a way that's right for me. But I just want to clarify that because I do talk a lot about how important consistency is because I firmly believe that. But consistency also can look different. Like for me, it might not mean that I post the exact same amount of content every single week, week after week, but month after month, I'm going to consistently be showing up. Like I'm going to keep creating content. So those were some of the biggest changes that I made in my business to allow deeper freedom in how I approach sales. And I highly recommend this process for yourself, that you really think about, again, how am I showing up to generate sales and what needs to change, right? Because the most important thing that you can do is show up in your business in the way that's right for you. And I want to remind you that everybody you see who is wildly successful and deeply aligned in their business, those people became successful because they were not looking around at what everybody else was doing. They were just following their path. And in so doing what was right for them, they created their version of success. And so you might be thinking, oh my gosh, you know what would feel so good is to not have to make talking head reels anymore. I hate doing them, but I feel like I have to. But I would love if I just didn't feel the pressure to do that anymore. If that is the correct action for you, who's to say that it wouldn't work for you to let go of that kind of content or to only post once a week or whatever it's going to look like in your business? Who's to say that those choices won't work? Because ultimately, it could be that your heart desires to show up less frequently or to be creating a different kind of content or to just stick to the certain platforms that you really enjoy for a reason. And you are being pulled in that direction. And eventually you could become the blueprint for somebody else of what it looks like to create success your way. Like that is a thing that I feel so deeply embodied in and rooted in right now in my business is focusing on my mission and executing my mission my way. And I really hope and pray that even if you never work with me, if you don't give a crap about what I do, whatever, I hope that people will see that there's deeper levels of freedom available to you in your business. You can do things your way, in the way that is right for you. And it's so important in this conversation that we're having about sales as a whole and how sales online are changing. If you are hearing everything I'm saying and you are thinking, I have no idea what feels right to me, I don't know, I don't trust myself, I'm constantly questioning. First of all, that's okay. You are so not alone. But this is an invitation to really get on that, girlfriend. Like, you need to start spending some time journaling every day, get your meditation going. It's time to investigate that, because I just genuinely believe you cannot move forward in the online space with where the online space is going and where sales are going if you don't understand how to be in tune with yourself, your own energy, and figuring out what's right for you. So that process will look different for everybody. I really recommend, if you don't know your human design, that's a great place to get started. Figure out how to be in tune with yourself. It's so important. It is the best gift you will ever give yourself. Okay, so let's transition now into talking about how to actually begin generating flow and operating from flow in your business. So I'm going to share, like I said, 3 things that I have found are really key to making this happen. And the first thing is operating from trust. And what I mean by that is trusting that your soul knows the right path for you to bring your dreams to life. Insert for soul whatever freaking word you want. Soul, heart, desires, I don't care. Your soul, your essence, you know how to bring to life what you actually desire, the success that you want. You know, maybe you are somebody who is always looking to other people or outside sources to inform how you should run your business and how you can reach your goals. Whether this is something that you do consciously or unconsciously, this is so common for people to outsource their authority and their sense of self-trust and think, okay, I need validation that the plan I'm going to follow is going to work. Or even if you come up with an idea of like, okay, I'm going to try doing this to generate sales, but you think, well, I've never seen anybody else do it that way. Or you try to start searching for somebody else. So again, you have this validation of like, I'm not crazy. See, this plan will work. You know, people aren't going to notice that I'm doing something different and be like, oh my God, she's so dumb. Why is she doing that? Right? So we all have different ways that we get stuck in the cycle of thinking, I need to see it to believe it. But the problem is, do you think that everyone who is meant to create success in their business is meant to do it in the same way? Of course not. Of course not, right? Like that would be silly. If that were the case, you could teach a strategy to 100,000 people and like 100,000 people would all find success instantly through following that exact plan. Of course, we know that that's just not how things work. And the reason why that is, aside from the fact that we're obviously not robots who can just do the same thing and get the same results, it's also important to remember that we are all living expressions of the divine. And the divine wants to come to life and create and experience success in a myriad of different ways. It doesn't want to just do it in one way over and over and over. The divine wisdom that is within each of us desires to be expressed in multiple different ways, in millions and billions of different ways. And so what I always think about is, why would your soul, who knows what it wants out of this life, whether that's hyper specific for you or it's general, you just know how you want to feel, or you've got the grand picture, whatever it is, the thing that is truly your soul's mission, your soul purpose, what you want out of this life, why would your soul not know how to make that happen? Why is it the default that we think we can't trust ourselves to know how to create the results we desire? Because I think about it in a really practical way. Like if I cut my skin, if I get a paper cut, I know that my body will heal it and the skin will close up and it'll be gone in a few days. My body knows how to pump blood and breathe and do all of these things all the time, all on its own, because our bodies know how to operate. Why is it that when it comes to our spirit, we think anything different? It's the same thing. Your spirit knows how to get you where you want to go. And so that is the foundation to me. You've got to have that as the first layer to operating from flow, is trusting that you actually do know the right path to bringing your dreams to life. And you just have to learn how to trust it from that place. You have to learn how to say, I might not have, steps 1 through 1,000 mapped out. But if I've got step 1, I know I'll figure out step 2 through 1,000 along the way. I know that I will be resourced. I know the information will come to me. I know it will happen. I know I'm capable, okay? That's the foundation of operating from flow. The second thing is allowing space for conscious decision making in your business. So it's incredibly easy in life in general, and especially in your business, to be operating from autopilot, just sort of repeating the same cycles over and over and over. That's why if you've ever listened to any of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, you will hear him talk about how the idea that we just repeat the same day over and over and over, or at least most people do, and they kind of have their entire life mapped out for them from the time that they are a young adult, because they are just programmed and living in this programming that is so subconscious. And so instead of operating from this autopilot, we want to actually start to make decisions consciously. And so to really change the current and to direct the flow of your business in a new direction so that you can live in harmony daily, live in that alignment daily, all of the unconscious decisions that you are making need to be brought to the light and kind of reassessed. So what I mean by that is, where are you showing up in your business out of the assumption that you have to show up in that way? How could you show up in a way that is more in alignment with your energy? So the things that you think, again, this is just the way it is. I have to do this. I have to do it in this way. I have to have these talking points, whatever. Is that really true? How could you show up for that in a way that feels right for you? Let's say, for example, you have been forcing yourself, like I said earlier, making the talking head reels. And I'm using this as an example because it's the number one complaint I hear from people with creating content is they're like, I don't want to make talking head reels. I hate it. So that's why I'm using it as an example in hopes that it's relevant for, a majority of you guys. But let's say you've been forcing yourself to make talking head reels just because that's what you see other people do. And you think, I have to, that's what the algorithm wants, blah, 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 whatever. We've got all these stories. But low-key, you hate doing it. It takes you 72 tries. Your energy is completely drained at the end of it. You're like, don't talk to me. I don't want to look at anybody. And actually, I hate this, but like, I'm posting it anyways. Like, if you have had that experience, right? If you know in your heart that posting talking head reels are not where you shine. It's not where your message comes forth in the best way. It's not what feels natural and effortless for you. What if you let yourself show up in a way that's right for you? Maybe you think, I love Substack. Like in writing, like I express myself so well. I love that. But you don't let yourself feel the freedom to just pursue that. What if you just gave yourself that freedom? Like, I'm going to try it because there's a reason I'm so pulled to it. Now, an important distinction when we talk about allowing yourself deeper freedom to show up in the way that's right for you, especially if you are not somebody who's like super in tune with your body and your own energy and whatnot, is there's a distinction between, when I told myself I don't need to be making 3 TikToks a day, the relief I felt from that was immense. My body just like sighed a sigh of relief, and I felt so much peace. And I just knew I'm giving myself permission to do what's right for me. But what I wasn't doing was making a decision. Let's say you don't want to make talking head reels simply because you are scared of showing up on camera and you're scared of putting yourself out there in that way. You feel anxiety, nervous, you don't want to step outside of your comfort zone, push yourself. And you give yourself the freedom to not do it because it's coming from a place of fear and anxiety, and you're just giving in to that fear and anxiety. That's obviously a different thing. So that is something to keep in mind is, okay, if I were to let myself, create content for social media in a way that feels perfect for me, that feels so aligned, that feels like a relief, and you jot down, okay, 3 ideas, here's what it would look like, here's the things that I would change. It's worth asking yourself, like, just again, let me make sure with myself, is this coming from this is the right thing for me and my energy, or is it coming from my mind is afraid of doing this thing and I'm going to let myself kind of get off the hook and not do it, right? So just something to keep in mind there. But allowing space for conscious decision making really just means that you are not repeating the same cycle on autopilot week after week, but you are giving yourself space to ask, is this what I really want to do? And even on a more granular level, this looks like giving yourself the space day to day to do the work that you feel pulled to do. So sometimes when I, sit down to do my work, I open my laptop and I'm just feeling a lot of friction. I feel frustrated, like clearly my energy feels very stuck and nothing is flowing out of me. And I'm sure I'm sitting in front of my computer doing work, I say in quotes. I'm not actually really getting anything done. When that happens and I pause for a second, I'm like, what is it that I'm wanting right now? I oftentimes feel that my energy wants to go outside in some capacity. Like I want to go for a walk or I want to go sit in the sun for a little bit. Whatever it is, I give myself the freedom, close that laptop and go do whatever it is that where my body is feeling pulled to. And every single time, I'm so glad that I did it, because what happens by listening to what my body is telling me it needs is all of a sudden, by taking my mind off of something I'm working on, that's when the inspiration hits, right? I will have an idea come through. I'll get a sense of clarity about how I'm supposed to move forward. I will feel refreshed and revitalized, ready to come back to work, way more productive. So that's what it looks like to really allow yourself this flow on a daily basis of what really am I feeling pulled to right now? Where am I feeling ready to do work, and how can I make the decisions in my business from a conscious place? Now let's get into our third topic for generating flow in your business. And it's something you might be wondering, like you maybe are thinking, okay, love the idea of operating from flow, operating from trust, harmony. Okay, all good. But what about the things that I have to do in my business that I do not enjoy? How do I merge these two things together? Because odds are the things that you hate doing in your business, you're probably not going to randomly start loving them again just because you're in alignment, right? Like that's not how it works. So, okay, let's talk about this, because this is a topic I actually really enjoy and I think is important, because I think it's so easy, especially I'm very cautious of using the word alignment. A lot of times I just don't like that word, because so often the conversations around that and using that language sound like they're saying you are either in alignment or you are out of alignment. It's very black and white. And also you better be careful, because if you're in alignment, you can easily fall out of alignment. I don't think that that's true. And I think it's really important to understand that being in alignment and operating from flow does not mean that everything is going to be rainbows and butterflies, right? But I think we need to ask ourselves, why is it that we view being in flow, being in alignment, and doing the tasks that we must do in our business that maybe we don't enjoy, why do we view these two things as being in opposition to each other? And when I'm referring to the tasks that you must do, that's going to be unique to you, but it could be, for example, that you hate trying to come up with content ideas and creating content, which if that's you, check out Infatuated. I got you, girl. It's going to be so much easier for you. It could be that you hate doing your bookkeeping. You hate doing your outreach. You hate getting on your stories, right? Whatever those must do's are for you, here's my view. Your body and soul know that those things are a necessary part of building the business, getting the sales, and creating the results that you desire, right? Because again, your soul knows how to get you to where you want to go. So the things you have to do, your body and soul, energy, they already know it. But what happens is that our mind tells us this thing has to get done. And so therefore, it either needs to get done ASAP and you feel a sense of urgency and pressure around it, and you just want to get it done so that you can be relieved of that sense of pressure. Or depending on, how you operate and on the situation, you might be somebody who you feel like, oh, this has to get done. And you actually put it off over and over and over. It moves from your to-do list on one day to the next, to the next, to the next week, to the next month, and so on, because you are avoiding it until you cannot avoid it anymore. And now it's last minute and you got to get it done. Okay. For example, it could be that you hate doing your bookkeeping every single month and you put it off and you put it off and you put it off. And then now all of a sudden it's tax day. You haven't done any of your bookkeeping and it's such a nightmare because you're having to do all your bookkeeping and your taxes at the same time. And, midnight on tax day is readily approaching. It could be that you feel a sense of urgency to show up on your stories because you need to get sales. So you show up from that place of urgency, right? When this happens, it is simply the mind trying to run the show, okay? The mind is saying, this is what has to happen. It has to happen right now. You need to get this done. You should be feeling guilty for not doing this. And I'm going to constantly bombard you with this feeling of discontentment, guilt, shame, pressure, urgency because you're not doing it. But I want you to bring you back to remembering, again, the body knows what needs to get done. So when you are operating in flow, which means that you trust that your body is going to tell you what to do and when to do it, you can trust that your body will lead you to the must-dos at the right time. This is like, I hope this is clicking for you because this is like people do not operate this way. And it's truly revolutionary in your own life when you do. So instead of approaching your must-dos as these things, these areas in your business where you just need to grit your teeth and get it done, first ask yourself, okay, is there a way that I should be modifying this to do it in a way that's right for me? As we've been talking about, maybe there's something that needs to change in your approach. But then also ask yourself, can I trust that I will get this done when the time is right? How can I trust that I will get this done when the time is right? Because I will tell you that when you operate from trust that your body can lead you in getting things done in your business, what happens is you release all of the resistance to getting that task done. And when you trust, okay, I know when the time is right, I will have the energy to do it and I will be able to get it done, you will be so efficient at getting it done. Like it actually will just be quick and painless and easy. Again, doesn't mean you're going to love it and have fun and it's going to be amazing, but you will notice all of a sudden you can show up on your stories or get your bookkeeping done, creating content, and it's flowing out of you quickly, effortlessly, easy because you're showing up when your body has the energy to do it. You can trust yourself more than you realize. You might be thinking, I actually can't trust myself to get these must-dos done in my business. Like if I don't force myself to do it, I just won't do it at all. And I think maybe for a very small percentage of you listening, maybe that's true and it's something to work on. But I think for most people, they just don't give themselves the opportunity to build that self-trust by saying, okay, I'm trusting my energy will tell me when it's time, and then doing it. And this doesn't mean that you can't have any routine at all, right? I have things that are the must-dos in my business that I don't really love that are on either a weekly or a monthly basis. They're in my Google Calendar as a task. So I always know like they're there and they're recurring, they're coming up. But if on the day of, like, for example, something I really don't like doing is just kind of like financial forecasting and taking a look at where money is coming in from what and kind of plan. I just don't like doing things like that. And that's something that, I have it in my calendar every single month. But if I, on that day, sit down to do it and my energy is just not there, I'm not going to do it that day. And I will just take that event in my calendar, move it to the next day, girlfriend. I'll get it done when the time is right. And I literally always do. So I invite you to just experiment with this, play with it, and you cannot mess it up because even in the instance, like I told you of how I decided I'm going to show up on every single platform and do everything. And it ultimately was like not a good experience for me. I didn't enjoy it. I learned a really valuable lesson from it and it reoriented me in the right direction. So even if on paper it was the wrong thing to do, it was ultimately a part of the path. It was a part of the process that was the right thing for me. So that's always going to be the case, that no matter what, you cannot mess it up. Let yourself experiment. So just as a quick refresher for you, the 3 things to start generating flow in your business are: 1, operating from trust that your soul knows the right path to bring your dreams to life. 2, allowing space for conscious decision making so you are no longer living in autopilot week after week. And then 3, being able to complete the must-dos in a space of flow from a place of alignment by understanding that your energy, your body will have the energy to get those things done when the time is right. And you don't have to force and you don't have to avoid. You can be in the flow that is in that healthy middle, and you will know when the time is to get those things done. Now, I want to tie all of this into sales in your business because sales are probably the top area where people experience a lot of urgency, pressure, doubt. They have guilt and shame for not knowing exactly how to create the results that they want. And that's why I think learning how to operate your business from a place of flow is so important and so relevant to your sales. And to go a little bit deeper into this shift that I see happening online that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, for such a long time in the online space, having a strategy, having a step-by-step plan, telling people, steal my process. Here's exactly how to start generating 5K a month in, 2 days, whatever it is. Here's how to become a gazillionaire in 3 hours. Like that's how so much content online feels to me now. That kind of content though, I mean, that was a joke, but being serious, content that is really strategy focused and really about here's a method, a step-by-step plan, has dominated the online space. But the reality is what people are craving now more than ever is an authentic frequency and embodiment from the person that they are going to be consuming content from and purchasing from. And if you're a service provider who, like a virtual assistant, OBM, and so on, people want that frequency from somebody who's going to be on their team. Like it's absolutely crucial. People are no longer content with the idea that you know how to craft the perfect hook, you know how to make all the right content ideas, but it's completely void of any real voice behind it. It is void of any personality, any passion behind it. Nobody wants that anymore. It just is not working the same, especially because there are more and more and more people in the online space than ever before, which is so good. That's a good thing. But that's why when you keep trying to follow the process that everybody else is doing and creating content in the way that everybody else is, and how are they crafting their bios and how are they doing this, all of those things, that's why it's not going to work for you because everybody's doing that. And your audience sees that everybody is doing that. This is why I am creating this workshop as I've been talking about for a disgustingly long time, I'm creating a workshop that is talking in depth, and it's completely free, through how sales in the online space have operated up until this point, why it's no longer working, and why you might be experiencing a lot of frustration. Like, I'm doing all the things and it's not freaking working. What is happening? I explain that, and I explain how to move forward. And I just want to say that I know, and I say this in the workshop, you'll see when it comes out. It's not out yet. I'll give you more details on that in a second. I want to just say that I know the idea of change is really scary to most people. And especially in the online space, people are like, oh, the algorithm changed again. There's a new kind of content I have to be doing now. And I hate that you're kind of constantly forced to be flexible and adaptable. That's just the name of the game of being an entrepreneur, to be honest. But I know that that can be a struggle for people. But I want to just tell you that you do not need to be afraid of this change. This is actually everything we've been talking about today. It is about a deeper level of freedom, girl. Like, this is not about, oh, great, now I have to do this thing. I have to start making reels because that's what the algorithm wants, even though I hate it. Like, that's what everybody was saying when reels came. I remember when reels came out on Instagram, and it was the actual end of the world online. Like, people were so upset about it. And so I just want you to recognize, like, this is not like that. This is profound opportunity to move forward in a new way that lights you up, that is satisfying, enriching, that feels good and feels in alignment for your energy, your soul. Like, that is what's available. I'm just so excited to, bring this workshop to you and to tell you about it, because my Aquarius moon, she's watching, okay? I am observant. I am watching what is happening in the online space. I am watching the disconnect that people are walking through, thinking, why the hell is this not working for me? It's been working for me in the past. Now it's not. What's happening? I can't figure it out. I'm so confused. They're like pulling their hair out, okay? Because there's so much frustration. I have been seeing this happening, and I just feel so clear on where things are going, and I cannot wait for you to get this workshop. So this workshop will be out, my hope is by mid-July. I have pushed that date off for a really long time. If you know, I said initially by like the first week of June. Girl, the date has changed a million times, but ultimately what I came to a place of, speaking of allowing deeper freedom, was I was just like, for me, it takes me time to develop my message. And this is something that I think is so important, that it's really crucial to me that I don't rush it and put out something that doesn't fully articulate what I want people to hear and the experience I want them to have in their business. So that workshop will be out in July, and it's going to be accompanied by a paid program that is going to be all about sales in the way that I've been talking about, and stepping into your embodiment and creating your path for success. So it is not me saying follow these steps. It is so much richer and deeper than that. It is about finding freedom in sales, completely transforming your relationship to sales to be one of confidence, freedom, excitement. And I'm just so excited. So the program will be starting in August. And so all of the info on that will be available once the workshop comes out. But keep an eye on that. If you're not currently signed up for my newsletter, girls get everything first. So you can sign up via the link in my show notes if you want to get notified as soon as the free workshop becomes available. One last note that I want to say is, if you are interested in working together one-on-one, I currently have the waitlist open for my next round of Lucky Day, which isn't going to be until later this fall. But I also have, in the meantime, one-on-one sessions available. So in these sessions, we can really dive into whatever key areas in your business you are feeling stuck, confused, you're experiencing problems with, or maybe you have a goal of like a certain way that you want to transition in your business or scale, but you're just not sure how to get there. The one-on-one sessions are perfect for that. I work so deeply with my one-on-one mentees to really understand you and your business, to dive into everything we're talking about today of like, where do you want to go moving forward? And let's create the plan that is correct for you to make that happen. So you can find the link for that in the show notes as well. Thank you guys so much for making it all the way here to the end. I hope that this was helpful, inspiring, and hopefully just as a release for you and a relief that you don't have to show up the way everybody else is. You can create success in your own way, in the way that is right for you. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.